So yes, a lucky few have played the full version of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 early before release and have given their brutally honest opinions in a sort of review in progress. Now, the Kingdom Come Deliverance franchise has a very dedicated following, but there's still some concerns we need to talk about when it comes to its sequel. How's the AI holding up? Are the side quests and activities interesting? Is it open world fascinating, or is it just a bunch of open space with nothing to do? Has the game been watered down compared to the first game to appeal to more people? Or does it keep its DNA intact? And how does the combat compare to the first game? And what about performance and bugs? We'll talk about it all in this video. Also, I'm doing a very big Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 giveaway. To enter for a chance to win a copy of the game on the platform of your choice, see that link in the top pinned comment. Now, we gotta talk about the open world. So the open world of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is apparently a marvel of design, filled with secrets, stories, and surprises. And also, I don't think a lot of people realize this about the open world design of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is that it has two distinct maps. We've got the Bohemian Paradise and then the Trotsky map, and these are going to be pretty different and feel very handcrafted. I mean, clearly you can see there's a passion here from the dev team in crafting this world. I think it goes without saying. But yeah, you'll find bustling cities with tons of NPCs, things to do, taverns, and apparently venturing beyond these walls can be very risky, especially at night. And if you hear wolves howling, you've been warned, because apparently a lot of the wildlife in this game is very dangerous. Unlike many open world games that rely on map markers and waypoints, instead Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 encourages unguided exploration. NPCs share rumors and leads, and it's up to you to follow them. Did someone at the local tavern perhaps let it slip that there's a criminal hiding out somewhere? Or perhaps there's some hidden loot within the graveyard? You really have to open up your ears and listen to what's going on, and then naturally head to those spots on the map yourself. And I really love the game's map. It is stylized and doesn't always lead you directly to your objective. The game is constantly encouraging you to explore. But what about those side quests? Apparently those are also a highlight as well. They're not just filler content, but meaningful stories that add depth to the world. And one quest came to mind through all the early playthroughs, and it was described as a spiritual successor to the infamous Night Out with Father Godwin from the first game. Promises to be apparently a very memorable experience. Now, the world is vast, but it's the attention to the little details that make it feel real. From the bustling towns to the quiet countryside, every location tells a story. Now, this approach encourages you to pay attention to dialogue and immerse yourself in the world, rather than simply following a marker and being kind of like brain dead. Nope, you got to think this through and really look at the world that you're in. And also, apparently the world is filled with tons of dynamic events. You might stumble upon a group of bandits ambushing a traveler or a merchant whose cart has been broken down. These events add a sense of unpredictability to the world, making every journey feel unique. The game's day and night cycle and weather system further enhance the immersion, as you'll need to adapt to changing conditions. Traveling at night is more dangerous, for example, but it also offers opportunity for stealth and ambushes, so you can change up your playstyle according to whether it's day or night. And by far, one of the most intriguing aspects of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is how it handles character progression. After the prologue, Henry is stripped of his possessions and essentially left in a vulnerable state. This reset creates a sense of urgency as you work to rebuild his strength, equipment, and reputation. However, unlike the first game where Henry started out as a bumbling novice, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 gives him a baseline of competence. Even at his lowest, Henry feels like a seasoned adventurer, and acquiring decent armor or a weapon quickly puts you back on track. And the progression system itself is deeply satisfying from early impression. Every step forward feels meaningful here. It's not just about leveling up stats, but also reclaiming Henry's identity and place in the world. And the skill system itself is expansive, with dozens of skills to level up, from combat and stealth to alchemy and blacksmithing. Each skill has its own perks, which can significantly impact your playstyle. For example, the drinking skill has perks that make you a more effective drinker, allowing you to hold your liquor better and even gain temporary buffs from alcohol. The speech skill offers perks that make you more persuasive or intimidating depending on your approach. And this is only scratching the surface, by the way. There is a lot more nuanced detail to this skill and perk system. Now, the combat system in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is a testament to Warhorse's dedication to refining their vision. Building on the foundation of the first game, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 introduces a more nuanced and satisfying approach to melee combat. Gone are the days of spamming the Master Strike. Now in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, however, the Master Strike this time around has been reimagined into a skill that requires precision and timing to execute it. You must carefully observe your opponent's attack direction and counter from the opposite side. This change not only makes combat more engaging, but also adds a layer of strategy, as you must now anticipate and adapt to your enemy's movements, which sounds really cool. Now, the directional combat system, where you must choose the angle of your attack, left, right, or overhead, adds a layer of depth. Enemies will try to block and parry, of course, forcing you to think on your feet and adapt your strategy accordingly. Combos, which require specific sequences of directional attacks, add another layer of complexity, making each fight feel like a deadly dance. Now, the game also introduces a new piercing thrust attack, executed by pointing the stick downward, which adds yet another tool to your arsenal. And there's also some weapon variety involved here as well. We got some long swords, some axes and maces, and the differences between all of these weapons really does matter. You can really feel the brute force, for example, of the axe and mace, and more of the nuanced nature of handling a longsword. Each weapon type has its own distinct feel, and the game encourages you to experiment with different styles. Whether you're engaging in a thoughtful duel or bashing bandits with a club, the combat system is both challenging and rewarding, and according to early impressions, it feels less clunky than the first game, which is fantastic news. Also, it's worth noting that long-range combat with the bow and arrow and even the crossbow have been greatly improved. No longer does it feel like you're missing every other shot. Instead, it feels like this time you can actually nail down your shots. So yes, being an archer now is actually a viable thing. And thankfully, from what we're hearing from early playthroughs and impressions, is that combat improves as you keep playing the game. For example, you have to train. So training with experienced fighters is crucial, as they can teach you new techniques and combos. Now, these lessons often come at a cost, requiring you to part with your hard-earned coins, but the investment is apparently well worth it. Now, the combat system is not just about brute force, it's about skill, timing, and strategy. Whether you're facing off against a single opponent or a group of bandits, every fight feels like a test of your abilities. And sometimes, yes, you will have to flee. Some combat encounters are just not doable. You might actually get overwhelmed, so you've been warned. So it goes to show that the dev team have been really focused on improving the combat system from the first game, instead of being like, meh, we're just gonna leave it as is. Nope. They fine-tuned it, and it looks like it's going to be a fantastic time. And the loadout system is another welcome addition, allowing you to save up to 3 custom weapon and outfit configurations. This makes it very easy to switch between different playstyles, whether you're gearing up for combat, sneaking around, or trying to impress locals. The system adds a layer of convenience without sacrificing immersion, as you still need to consider the weight and noise of your gear. There's a lot more to it than just aesthetics here, because it definitely influences how the world reacts to you as well, as NPCs will notice if you're wearing something fancy, or perhaps you enter a more rich region. They will also notice if you are wearing something that is dirty, you might have to clean up before you head to certain events. And this sort of thing definitely influences how the world treats you. And mentioning how the world treats you, we got to talk about crime, punishment, and stealth. So yes, the crime and stealth systems in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 have been significantly improved here. Distractions such as throwing rocks or whistling make stealth more dynamic, and the ability to draw enemies into an ambush adds a tactical edge to combat. And the stealth system itself has been polished to reduce frustration. In the first game, it was easy to get caught even if you were being careful, but in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, it's more forgiving. The game also introduces a new mechanic where you can make deals with eyewitnesses, allowing you to avoid severe punishments if you're caught. While the core mechanics remain largely unchanged, the consequences of your actions are far more detailed. NPCs can recognize stolen items if you're careless enough to wear them in public. This is something I absolutely love. An example of this was being able to steal boots from someone's chest and then walking around town, and then you stroll by the dude that you stole from and he recognizes his boots on your feet and calls you out for it and goes get a guard. This sort of detail excites me for this game. And yes, if you get spotted or caught, the punishment system is definitely interesting here, because there's layers to it. At first, they might brand you so that you are spotted as a criminal throughout the world, and then ultimately, if you get caught over and over again, you can actually be executed. But you know, it's also very realistic. If you're not spotted and you get away with the crime, you get away with the crime. It's not going to influence your reputation or anything like that. And while the stealth system has improved from the first game, it still has its quirks. NPCs can sometimes behave unpredictably, and the AI's awareness levels can feel quite inconsistent. For example, guards might notice an open door, but entirely fail to detect a player hiding in plain sight. And when it comes to comparing this game to stealth-centric games, yes, the stealth system does lack that certain depth. And while darkness and noise levels do play a role in stealth, the options for creative stealth approaches are somewhat limited here. However, I will say, for this type of game, I think the stealth system is just fine. But when it comes to lockpicking, several players did note that it was kind of a pain point for them when it comes to using controllers. Even with a simplified scheme, the mechanic can feel finicky and unintuitive, leading to some frustration. I imagine that this is something that can be adjusted and fine-tuned. It's just something to note before heading into this experience. And we got some new mechanics here introduced, like the ability to steal and sell horses. And that's a whole other layer of depth. Now, horses can be trained to be loyal to you, and a trading system also allows you to upgrade your steed. And we gotta talk about alchemy and blacksmithing, which are two of the most engaging, detailed systems in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. Now, alchemy has been expanded with the introduction of potion variants, weak, regular, and strong, which depend on the quality of your ingredients and your accuracy in following recipes. Ingredients now rot over time, so you've been warned, and this adds a whole layer of realism, and drying them preserves their quality and ensures you can brew the best potions possible. The effects of these potions are more impactful, with stronger variants offering significant bonuses. So I imagine alchemy will be extremely important on those higher difficulty levels. Which, by the way, there are many different difficulty levels in this game if you're wondering. If you're wanting a more chill, laid-back experience, you can go for that. But if you're wanting an absolute hardcore experience, you can also tune up the difficulty. But we also got to talk about blacksmithing finally making its debut here in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2. While the minigame is relatively simple, heat the metal, hammer in rhythm, and quench it, it's a satisfying addition that fits well with the game's other systems. However, there has been some noteworthy complaints about the blacksmithing so far, meaning that this feature might need some more fine-tuning. Now, when it comes to smaller items like horseshoes, we can run into some problems here apparently. When crafting larger items, however, like swords, you can move the item back and forth on the anvil, making it easier to hit the right spots. But with these smaller items, you have free reign with the hammer, and it's much harder to judge where your strikes will land. There's just no reticle or indicator to show you where the hammer is in that space, so you can often end up missing your target. It's apparently a very frustrating experience that could use some more tweaking. And a little bit of a warning here, the alchemy system itself is very, very complex from what I understand. It really does require you to follow recipes carefully and manage your ingredients. And this is where we can see that Warhorse Studios, the dev team, have really kept the DNA of the first game alive. While they've made this game more approachable this go around, it's still extremely detailed, and you can expect that same feeling of being in a living, real, breathing world like the first game. Some people might be overwhelmed by that sort of detail, but I really do think that the majority of you guys will absolutely embrace it. But overall, the systems here in place are extremely rewarding because they offer that sort of challenge, but it can also be somewhat daunting for those newcomers. But yeah, you know what? We gotta dive into the performance of the game, the bugs, glitches, that sort of thing. So performance in Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is apparently, according to those first playthroughs, impressive, especially on the high-end hardware. Now, settings were maxed out at 4K, with the DLS enabled, by the way, so that's noteworthy. And while there are occasional frame drops during autosaves, the overall experience is stable apparently, and yeah, it does look visually stunning from what we're seeing from early gameplay. However, there was some mention that the game might be quite demanding on PC, especially on the CPU. Players with mid-range systems may struggle to achieve consistent performance, even with lower settings, but only time will tell if this is true. You gotta remember, a lot of these early access playthroughs are being experienced on super ultra PCs. So it's gonna be interesting to see how well optimized Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is when all is said and done at launch. But you know, I've been so busy talking about the PC version of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, what about the console versions of the game, specifically PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X? So Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 offers two modes for both of these, a fidelity mode and a performance mode. Now, a fidelity mode, it targets about 30 frames per second and renders at 1440p using AMD's FSR Fidelity FX Super Resolution to upscale to 4K. Now, this mode enhances foliage density, shadow draw distance, and ambient occlusion, resulting in a more visually rich experience. However, The trade-off is a lower frame rate, which can feel less responsive compared to the smoother 60 FPS option. So let's go ahead and talk about that. The performance mode, which targets 60 frames per second, but only renders at 1080p, also using FSR to upscale to 1440p. And while the resolution drop is noticeable here, the boost in frame rate makes the game feel more fluid and responsive, especially during combat and exploration. But it's the PS5 Pro that really stands out and is described as kind of like the best of both worlds. The PS5 Pro version of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 eliminates the need to choose between fidelity and performance modes. Instead, it offers a single mode that combines the visual enhancements of fidelity mode with the smooth 60 frames per second gameplay of performance mode. Using PlayStation's Spectral Super Resolution, or PSSR, the game renders at 1296p and upscales to 4K, resulting in a sharper image with reduced temporal flicker compared to FSR. Now, this makes the PS5 Pro version the definitive way to play Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 when it comes to console, offering a balanced visual fidelity and performance that other consoles just can't match. And when it comes to the Xbox Series X version of the game, apparently it falls a little bit behind the PS5 in terms of frame rate stability and optimization. Now, the fidelity mode is visually impressive, but the performance mode's occasional dips below 60 frames per second can be frustrating. And of course, Xbox Series S is described as the compromised experience. And I think that goes without saying. Also, Digital Foundry did note some visual bugs and quirks when playing this game on console. Yes, they do describe it as a technical achievement, but it's not without its flaws apparently. There are some flickering materials and odd camera jitters during certain actions, and it is noteworthy though that there will be a day one patch which should address some of these issues, but just remember this is a very ambitious game. It's not going to be without its issues. And the game's landscapes are breathtaking with dense forests, rolling fields, and detailed towns that bring a realistic medieval world to life, and that's a key word here, realistic. It's not going to be like a full-blown fantasy medieval world with dragons and that sort of thing. This is very much a real take on the medieval world. But yeah, you know, with the first game, bugs were a significant issue and they have been largely addressed. We'll see how that pans out though, because we have had games released where it's like the first 50 hours or 70 hours feel great, and then after that, everything absolutely caves and it just doesn't feel good. It feels like something has happened, something has gone wrong. Hopefully that's not the case with Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, because apparently from the first impressions, bugs are minimal. There's no real game-breaking issues thus far. However, there were some bugs that I do have to mention. There were missing pieces of dialogue and some technical problems, frame rate hiccups and that sort of thing. So there are some chinks in the armor, but nothing absolutely alarming. But let me tell you what, Warhorse is extremely confident in this game. They've been having YouTubers and critics playing the game currently, and they haven't been afraid to show off their play sessions with the world, and it just seems like this game is ready for launch. And also, Kingdom Come Deliverance has been described as a slow burn with immense rewards, and it's not a game for everyone apparently. However, I think a lot of people will embrace this one simply because it's going to be something new, something different, something very detailed. Now, it has a deliberate pace, complex systems, and commitment to the historical accuracy might deter some players looking for a more accessible or action-packed experience, but I just don't think that is the case. I feel like I know you guys want something that is detailed, that is genuine and authentic. I think that's what a lot of you guys are looking for. But this game definitely values immersion over convenience, storytelling over spectacle, and player agency over hand-holding. And one of the biggest things I've heard from these early playthroughs is the characters are richly written, the world is meticulously crafted, and the gameplay systems are deeply interconnected, but it really is the personality of the game that continues to stand out with the characters, with Henry, with the interactions, and I think that is what is important when it comes to an open world RPG. Or you're just going to lose interest in the world, you're going to feel like giving up, there's nothing interesting for you at the end of that trail or in that city. What's the point? So we'll see what happens with this one. Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 is shaping up to be something super impressive. I've also heard some people say that this is going to be their game of the year, that it's one of the best games they've ever played. We'll see if it pans out to be true, but there is definitely some recent hype with this game that has me very, very curious. And for those of you that missed out on the first one, apparently you really don't have to worry about hopping into that one. There will be some sort of recap as well. And the tutorial itself is apparently very detailed with telling you what's happened previously, so there's no real worry there. Also, they do have big plans to support this one in the long term with a pretty big roadmap as well, expansions, DLC, all lined up, so they aren't just going to end support for this game once they actually release it. So that's good news. But yeah, I cannot wait for this one to release. We are nearing release, February 4th, 2025. It is nearly here. Cannot wait to get my hands on this one. But thank you guys so much for watching. Stay tuned for more, and I will see you all next time. Take care.